they come along and they say, Mike, we want you to be the next presenter. What you're saying?
In my wildest dream, no, of course, but that's not going to happen. And if it does, what a story that'll be.
Welcome back to another episode of The Apex. I'm Archie, and today I'm supposed to be having a chat with Michal-Fidowicz from Candyshowroom. Mike is a phenomenally talented writer, photographer, presenter, journalist. But as you can see, we've got a little bit distracted, and that's because we're at Joe Macari today. So a massive, massive thank you to them for letting us come down and film. So I think what we're going to do is have a little walk around their showroom, see what they've got, and then go upstairs for a chat. I should also mention as well that Joe Macari are one of Custodian's partner dealers. So their cars are listed for sale on our marketplace. So if you are in the market for a new car, make sure you hit the link in the description, go and check that out. We work with some of the best dealers in the UK, so there really is something for everyone on there. But yeah, without further waffle from me, let's go check out what they've got. There he is.
Hello, Archie. I have great news.
Yeah?
This moment just now, thank you for having me on your lovely show.
Pleasure
this
to have
moment
you
just
on.
now, I've been trying to sell a pair of E46 front wings, coupe pre-facelift for about 6 months. Someone's come to get them today. So we're making money, we're making money.
Deals are being made.
Exactly, yeah.
Your car's in Joe Macari's showroom.
My car's in Joe Macari's showroom. This is probably the most extravagant machine they've had in recent times. My E38 BMW 7 Series. I could really go on forever about this car. So I'd recommend not asking me too many questions, Archie. Otherwise, you're not going home tonight.
What's the colour?
Sorry?
Colour?
It's Mojave brown. Basically it's quite a rare colour. But the car itself isn't rare. It's just a plucky old 728, straight six, M52 engined, automatic gearbox. It's really it's kind of like, it's not extravagant or it's not like a super high achieving car or anything. These cars used to be used as kind of hotel runabouts, airport taxis in their prime. Today though, most of them have rotted away. So every now and then you still see one knocking about town. I use my one quite a lot, and as such, it's worn out in places where you expect a car to be worn out. Yeah. Like the seat's a bit rotten and there's a bit of rust on the arch. But yeah, it's my pride and joy. I love it.
And very comfortable. I've just been driven around, chauffeured around today by Mike.
There you go.
And,
yeah,
really cool car.
And that's why I have a slight stain on my shirt. I've just bought this shirt yesterday. I was so proud to wear it for the work today, and then Archie forced me to have a burger and I stained my shirt. So sorry, guys. But yeah, we're here, Joe Macari.
Yeah, let's have a little walk around, see what
Excellent.
else we've got in stock. I mean, this is actually my first time here, which is kind of insane. But I must say, 250 California down here, incredible. Alain Delon had one of these.
I'll be the first to admit, my bread and butter isn't this type of stuff. I appreciate all the cars, it's all beautiful. For the most part, I'll talk to you about old BMWs and Mercedeses and kind of more pedestrian junk, you could say. This stuff is obviously very high end. I have an appreciation for it, I love it all. But naturally, I couldn't tell you much about it. I know what this is, 250 California
yeah.
GT. Chris Evans had one of these.
He did, yeah.
Amongst many other people. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely stunning. Beautiful car. Obviously, DBR9 as well. Motorsport, you fan?
I like motorsport, but I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm looking at and what this does. I'm assuming it's like a GT3 type of car.
I think this is GT1. I think this was a Pro Drive car.
Probably raced at Le Mans.
It did.
There you go.
I'm going to say probably 2010.
Excellent.
I think this one actually raced, yeah.
I went to Le Mans Classic last year. I camped. The camping was awful, but the racing was brilliant. And they had the DB9RS, I think it is.
Okay, yeah.
The iconic green colorway, flying around the track. It was amazing. The loudest car there.
They sound phenomenal.
Unreal, absolutely amazing. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a 330 P4. I think I'm not sure about the P bit, but I'm pretty sure it's a 330. Obviously, yeah, Le Mans 60s Ferrari.
I remember they used this, literally this car, but this model. They used it in the marketing recently for the Miami GP in F1 because they had the blue outfits in there.
Okay,
so they used this as a reference point for the outfits to show the fans, hey, look, we did use blue colors back in the day, and this was one of the cars they used as an example because obviously it's red with the blue stripe.
Yeah.
So that's how they raced them, with that blue stripe.
That's very cool.
Yeah. What else we got?
What else? I do want to check out. Hang on, has the 917 gone? Where's the
917.
I swear there was like a.
Oh no! So there was a 917.
Count Rossi's 917.
Yeah, it used to be displayed here. It must have just gone. Basically, it was this car, just bigger and a proper one and a real one.
This one's a bit too small.
Yes, believe it or not, this is not the actual car he raced back in the day. But yeah, it's incredible. It's a 917. They converted to a road car. I remember the interior was similar to this, but a smidge lighter. It's just really cool.
They had to, it was the only road registered 917 as well, and they had to register it in Alabama, I think, on the condition that it never actually visited the state, which is kind of weird, but also very cool. And that was how he was able to get it road registered. I'm pretty sure.
So if any 917 viewers or owners are watching this out there, now you know. Speak to people in Alabama.
Yeah, head to Alabama.
Excellent.
110.
110, 100th anniversary of Bugatti, I think.
110.
110.
110, yeah. 110.
There we go, sorry. It goes to show how much I know. Again though, this type of stuff is amazing, but it's so out of my field of vision that I know absolutely nothing about it. I think a Chiron's prettier as well, there you go. So if you own one of these, sucks to be you, man. I'd rather have a Chiron. I could tell you something about this though.
Go on.
See, this is the one that did the backflip with Mark Webber at the wheel. In the mod.
This actual one?
No, not this actual one, but it's basically the same car, right? Well, it was CLK.
It was a CLK, yeah.
R thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly, they took the stickers off it. I don't know why. I'm sure the lovely people at Macari could probably tell us if they were here. They've given us free reign to this place. Very lucky of us. What else we got, Archie? Come with me, man. Let's talk about.
Yeah, go on. What takes you? I would like to have a look at that 722, but we can get there in our own time.
The what? 72.
722, the McLaren SLR 722.
Oh yeah. Well, come on then. Let's cut, and now we're there.
This 722, obviously McLaren SLR 722, special place in my heart because I'm a massive Sterling Moss fan. Obviously 722, paying homage to his 1955 Mille Miglia win with Dennis Jenkinson co-piloting the 722 Mercedes that they drove. That was epic.
I'd love to drive this around Chelsea at 20 miles an hour. That'd be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Oh, look, there we go. Now, there you go. 110. No, you want one of these. What's your dream car? Bugatti Veyron 16.4, mate. That's what people say. That's what I say. Look at the interior. It's stunning as well. Fun fact, you might already know this, but I recently learned that every big, main, fast Bugatti is named after a fighter pilot. So Veyron was a fighter jet pilot, and so was Chiron. He was also a fighter jet pilot. I think it's fighter jet.
That's very cool.
I think it's fighter jet. Yeah. I think it's fighter jet. Yeah. I think it's a pilot.
I believe you.
Someone can fact check me. But that's what I got told. It's either fighter pilot or like not a race car driver. I remember specifically not a race car driver. It was like a fighter pilot. I think it's fighter pilot.
Cars named after fighter jets.
So Monsieur
cool.
Bugatti. No, Monsieur Veyron.
I have no idea.
Yeah. And obviously it's all French, so they pronounce it interestingly.
Makes a lot of sense. Also, behind it, Ferrari Daytona, strong Miami Vice. Have you seen Miami Vice?
No, I'm slacking, but I know the vibe. I know what I've heard of Miami Vice. I appreciate what's involved.
Crockett and Tubbs, bit of Phil Collins.
Again, this would look really good around Chelsea at 20 miles an hour. Really would.
This is cool. I believe this is autumn gold, and it was from factory as well. It has been restored, but this was the color that it left the factory, and I'm pretty sure it's autumn gold, which is pretty aggressive. DB5.
A famous guy had one of these that you may have heard of, called James Bond. Quite the character. He was known for driving one of these things with a beautiful woman by his side and fighting bad guys in the movies. That's all I know about these. If it was an E36, I'd tell you everything you could possibly know about an E36, but jokes aside, this is probably my favorite car here. I don't know what year this is, but it's Miura S with the gold decaling at the bottom. Actually, if it's not the Miura S, it's probably that XJ220. Again, an incredible car. You can't see it because you're looking that way, but behind you there's an amazing XJ220.
I do want to have a quick look at this. I don't know a hell of a lot about it, but it's a Lister Nobly Jaguar. I'm pretty sure Chrysler V8, I think, raced in period. They sound amazing.
I've actually no idea what this is.
Yeah, it's
Was it Lister?
Lister Jaguar Nobly, I think.
And Nobly.
Nobly, yeah, because of the knobbles, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
And what a pet driver pairing as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
A reliable co-pilot, I'm sure. Something that I really like about John Macari as well is they do just generally let, within reason, people come and take a look.
Yep.
Got some school kids out of shot just now having a little poke around the 918, and like that was super important to me when I was a kid. I'm sure it was the same case with you, right? If you're young and you get a chance to have a look at these cars a little bit closer up, that passion and that spark that you get as a youngster just gets elevated.
Yes. It's
in ways that you can't do if all you see them in is just media and video games.
Yeah.
See them in person, come have a look, get amongst it. But don't touch. Just within, be smart about it. Be smart about it.
Mike, welcome to the podcast. Nice to have you on.
Thank you for having me, Archie. I really appreciate you giving me a time to chat. And what a cool place that we're in today, right?
Yeah, and even cooler because your BMW has been, it's in the showroom and it's getting some attention as well.
There's a couple of school kids right now walking about it, having a look. But yeah, that's the perks of being pals with the chap who organised this venue for us.
Yes.
I cheekily asked him if I could put my car inside for the video earlier, and he said, sure. So here we are.
Massive shout out to Joe Macari for letting us come down and film here. It's like, as far as locations go.
Yeah, we got pretty jammy. Also, worth saying that this is my local dealership. So for this to happen, really surreal. I remember being a young kid walking past this place, just being absolutely mind blown by some of the stuff they have to show. So obviously, this is a kind of full circle moment. Yeah,
no, definitely. And I feel like a lot of people will have seen your content on Instagram, your videos. I mean, you've got a big following now. 60,000 people on Instagram following you now.
Yeah, I mean, it's still I'm still getting used to appreciating that and understanding it because most of that 60 has come in the last 6 months. So
such a short.
I've been involved in the car media industry for close to a decade now, but having my face on camera is a relatively new thing to me, and I'm still kind of learning as I go. But 60, it's over 60,000 now. It's exciting. I'll go on a night out in Soho, and then people coming up to me asking for a photo, want to chat to me, and it's odd. And that's, in my opinion, 60,000 is still a relatively small number. I've got friends with like 500,000 upwards, so I can only imagine what it's like for them.
Yeah, but and it's interesting, you're talking about having worked in the car industry for about 10 years. What were your early years like? Were you grow up surrounded by cars? Or?
No, not at all. I was surrounded by cars, but out of my own choosing. So my parents aren't into it. My dad's always had like kind of working class cars, like Ford Mondeo, Vauxhall Vectra, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I've always liked them. I've always had an interest in cars. I think it's largely down to video games. I played a lot of video games when I was a kid. And it's a really accessible form of learning about a culture, right? So, but I remember I chose those video games. So they weren't randomly gifted to me. I went to the shop with my mum and dragged her with me to get me a copy of Underground 2 or Gran Turismo 4, that type of stuff. Yeah,
I was going to say Gran Turismo and Need for Speed.
Precisely, the two main games.
I think they've shaped an entire generation.
100%, absolutely. I mean, and that Need for Speed largely had a huge impact on my early days in the kind of car media world.
Okay.
From when I was 16, because before I got in front of camera talking about random oddball cars, I was going. It all started when I went to car shows and I was taking pictures of modified cars at modified car events. And I did that for a large part of 5 to 6 years. My business was going to events, covering them, writing about the events for various online publications, largely Speedhunters.
Okay.
They were the first lot to kind of give me a paid platform to do my job.
Yes.
Before that, everything was just done for myself. So I'd have my website, Candyshowroom. There I would sell merchandise, and the business model was sort of, I go to these car shows, I become a regular, I become friendly with people, I take cool photos, and I feature people's cars, and the audience would enjoy that. And because they like the name, they like the branding, they want to support me, they'll buy a hat or a t-shirt. So that was kind of the economy that I was kind of leaning into for a large part of my early days in the kind of media industry, you could say. Yeah.
So would you say first and foremost you were sort of a writer and photographer? Is that
photographer first? Photographer, by far, yeah. Okay. The writing thing, I don't really know. I mean, I know why I was taking photos. I wouldn't say it's because I was super passionate. I loved it. It was the easiest way to be involved and engaged without having a car. So you go to these car events and you're surrounded by people who have they've dumped house deposit money into a show car. Yeah. It's got shiny wheels, they're wonky, it's on LS performance, all sorts of stuff. I could never afford that. The best I could do was buy 1,500 quid BMWs, some cheap eBay coilovers, and some OEM wheels. All in, I'd be about $3,000 into this car. And it wasn't cool enough or flashy enough to be in the show being displayed. But I could get a camera and I could take some photos. And actually my parents got me my first camera for Christmas when I was 16 because they knew that I wanted to take photos of cars because I said I want to do that. And I think I said I wanted to do that because it was the best way to get involved. Best way to make friends. Hey, I'll take some photos for your car. Give me some of your time and attention. Let me chat to you. Maybe see if we can become friends on that kind of basis. You got to remember the time I was 16, 17. So you're a young man trying to find your way in the world in terms of just like learning how to talk to people, present yourself, all that sort of stuff.
So what would you say were your sort of inspirations growing up in terms of like photography or writing, or was there anyone whose work you were sort of consuming a lot of that then sort of influenced your own?
It's really odd to. There was definitely people. So in the photography world, there used to be a page called ILB Drivers Club. Their photography was always amazing, and I always liked their photos. It wasn't necessarily a style that I liked, but it was a style I appreciated. They got a large following, and they built up community around modified cars.
Yeah.
Before I ever went to car events, I used to look at their coverage and I think, wow, this is amazing. I want to go to these events. I want to be part of that. So I guess they've definitely contributed to my interest in cars and getting me out on my feet into car shows.
Yeah.
Not really sure what they do these days, but back when I was late teenage, early 20s, super cool. I used to love their stuff. And then later in life, because I kind of learned into photography, naturally, I was learning a bit more about it as an art form. I was learning more about the kind of people that do it professionally. A guy who, one of the people I worked with at Speedhunters, who I guess I could say he's a friend of mine, my mate, Mark Riccioni, he's an incredible photographer. He works for Top Gear. He's a huge inspiration photography-wise. Alex Penfold, again, absolutely amazing. I think most people have heard of him. Yeah. His work is stunning. Yeah. In fact, it's all up around the walls here, Joe Macari. The chap who let us in, Alex Babington, he's a great photographer. To be fair, if I was to start listing everyone, we'd be here for 40 minutes. Yeah. No, but there's a lot of people out there. But early days, for sure. Yeah. I love Bass, Mark Riccioni. Okay. Anything I could find my hands on, I could get my hands on in Speedhunters as well. Their photography tended to be really good as well.
And so when did you make the decision to pivot away from that and get behind the in front of the camera, should I say, and start doing your video content?
It's all a bit weird. So I knew that I wanted to, while doing the photography, I was writing a lot. I made an Instagram page called Mildly Interesting Cars of London, and I ran that with a couple of my friends. And naturally, the more of a following you get there, because the people that follow that account followed purely for the captions, really. And me and my other friends who wrote or my mate Garlib, who wrote the captions with me, we would bank out the caption limit on Instagram with every post. And with more people following, we'd get more engagement and more conversations about us. I'll show you. Sorry, that's it. That one's mine. I said they can, just that one. But yeah, not the others cars, gents. Just that one's fine. The others, just hold it. Yeah. Sorry about that. Apologies. This is average me moment. I try and be overly nice and then just get others in trouble or myself. Anyway, so I created that page with my friends. Me and my mate Garby used to write the captions, and people would come to that page to read the captions. And through that, you'd get engaged a lot more in the craft of writing. So I was really enjoying writing. I wouldn't say I read a lot. Okay. Which is odd. Most people that write and love writing, they read a lot as well. I didn't really read much, but I did. Obviously, there's a huge respect for people who can do it well and who can engage. Yeah. Something I hugely respect is script writing. For example, Rich Porter, who scripted basically most of the kind of golden years of Top Gear, what he did was amazing. I have huge respect for that, and that's something that I've always enjoyed the thought of doing. So, fast forward to December 2023, so really not long ago, and I got an email from a marketing PR firm that was doing some marketing work for Renault, and they said, hey, we need you to make some reels for us, we'll pay you, would you be interested? And at that point, I've got 2,500, 3,500 posts on Instagram of just photos. My face isn't on there. And I'm thinking, A, why have you come to me? And B, how did you find me? And I have a sneaky suspicion maybe somebody I know either suggested me, recommended me, or maybe they even knew of me from the PR company and they thought, okay, maybe this guy could be all right. So at first I said to the company, I was like, I'll be honest guys, it's out of my comfort zone. I've never been on camera. I don't know how it works. I can take some photos for you. And they said, well, no, we want you to make a reel. We want you to make a video, talk about the car. And in the end, that specific project got cancelled by Renault. They never went ahead with it. But I spoke to some other friends in the industry and they're like, oh, Mike, you could be quite, A, you could be good at this. B, it's an opportunity to make money. And C, you can make something of yourself. So I thought I'd give it a go. My best mate, my cameraman, he's called Matthew Martin. Love that guy like a brother. Took him with me to Paris. We went to Place Varbonne, which is an incredible weekly car meet that happens every Sunday in the center of Paris. And we just ran around blindly with him pointing the phone at me with some really cheap £20 Amazon basic mics. Yeah. And the video did really well, like far better than I thought it would have. I was expecting like maybe 10 to 20,000 views and I got over 500,000. And people clearly enjoy the energy. They enjoyed the editing. And I've got a background in editing as well. I've always had my fingers on media somehow. So I knew how to do that. I knew how to make a product. I just didn't know how to present it. So took all my knowledge from making products. I took my recommendation of getting in front of the camera and we chucked into the video and it worked. Next video was a video about Grenadier Ineos. My friend just said to me, he's like, "Oh, do you want to drive on camera?" Sweet, yeah, sure. Again, that video did really well. And then it kind of snowballed. Yeah. And now we're here. You've given me some of your time. And it's and I've only been doing it for 7 months. So I don't have the years of experience like majority of your guests. Yeah. But so it's just interesting to be in this position. Yeah, and I think a lot of your presenting style is very unique down to sort of the fashion and the sort of I think you put a lot of effort into writing the scripts beforehand as well. I guess is that how you sort of see yourself in terms of like the presenting? Was it like I've got a lot of interest outside of cars. I really enjoy fashion and food. The two things. I mean, it's quite basic things. Most people, it's like when you go in a dating app and a girl's like, "Oh, do you like music?" Well, of course I like music. Everyone likes music. It's a basic human function to enjoy music, right? But yeah, I guess I'd say I really like clothes, and I think I like clothes because I like the branding and the imagery attached to them more so than just a materialistic badge. Like anything can have a badge and be expensive, but the heritage, the marketing around it, and the imagery they represent is something I'm really interested in. Largely why I like BMW, because they nailed that. They did a real good job of kind of marketing themselves in the late 80s, throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s. So that's why I like clothes. So I do understand what I'm doing in terms of making sure I look presentable and making sure I come across a certain way. It's a part of me, but it's also it's something I've chosen to do. So it's natural, but I know I'm doing it, so I'm going to choose to lean into it because people seem to like it, and I'm happy doing it because it's part of me. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the cars as well, I think, is a part of you in terms of the cars that you review. It's quite an eclectic mix. Again, is that very much your like, okay, I want to do a review on that car? It's because I like them, for starters. Cars is, again, let's use the music analogy, right? Million genres of music out there. Same with cars. You have cars like here, you have cars that do like, everyday functions, like designed for economy and efficiency and that sort of stuff. So many different genres of cars. I like cars for the people. I like cars that tell a cool story. Cars that are social commentary. Great example would be like a Mini, especially in London. Great example of social commentary. It's part of the 60s boom. If you think of the 60s in London, you think of a classic Mini, right? You could say the same about any type Jag. Loads of cars. So I like cars that are accessible, but equally they can add to a story. They can add to a landscape or represent it again. But your personal taste in cars is very much BMWs. 90s BMWs. 90s BMWs. I think as a rule of thumb, anyone who likes 90s BMWs grows up one day and aspires to own a Porsche. So I'd like a Porsche, but who wouldn't? Everyone wants a Porsche. And that's why Porsches are boring, which is why we're not going to talk about them. Let's talk about BMWs, you're right. I've had, not too many, I've had 6, I think maybe 7 90s BMWs now. That is quite a lot. In a row. I've had a lot of them largely because they break and they just go to the scrapyard. But that's because I was a kid who'd lower the car, an inch off the floor, wonky wheels. I'd put all the money into cheap eBay coilovers so I wouldn't service it and it would just blow up. It'd be an absolute miserable heap of junk to drive. I've got some great videos on my phone and voice notes from my early days where I'm just basically crying about how terrible these cars are to drive. But I loved them. And now, because I've grown out of the idea of slamming my car against the floor, I prefer like a nice clean classic. Still a little bit lower, spaced out, like a nice road car, which is what I think that 7 Series is that I got. That 7 Series is probably, for me personally, like peak BMW in terms of visuals, efficiency, robustness, image, design language, and kind of feel. Like they just feel really well put together because they are. I've had most 90s BMs now. Never an M car. I'd love to try an M car, but I think an M car as a whole is a slightly different topic. It's not, they're designed to be used every day, but they're like 5-6 times the price of a non-M product, usually, especially from the 90s. They never made an M7. I don't think it would have been a very good car anyway. I like the 728. I like 90s BMWs, yeah, because I just consider them good cars.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, again, was there a sort of something that put you on to BMWs, or are you just growing up around?
Like, you know
what is it about?
I have absolutely no idea. I used to read the Stance Works forum when I was a teenager, and there was a guy rebuilding an E36 M3, a white one, sedan, or a saloon. And I just thought it was the coolest car in the world, and it was just so cool. And I've always wanted an E36, an M3 specifically, and I could never get insured on even a 316. That's why I bought E46s instead, because I could get insured on those. Okay. So I like 3 of them. And then obviously it's tricky to own an old car in London now, so by default I've just never been able to try an E36. Yeah. I could always get insured on an E38 though. Bizarrely, they were like quite cheap to get insured on, because most young blokes who wanted the BMW all bought a 3 Series and then crashed it, which is what I did. But a 7 Series is relatively easy to get your hands on, much cheaper. Yeah. And it's big, it's nice, it's comfortable, as you know.
Yeah, I can attest to the comfort for sure. Yeah. But no, the reason, because obviously, like, I know we don't want to talk too much about Porsches, but you know, when I was growing up, I remember watching like the Gumball 3000 videos with like the Mischief crew, and they had a BMW on that as well.
A yellow one, E36 M3.
And I just remember like the impression that had on me while I was in a 996, seeing like Rob Lonman in that GT2.
So cool, so cool. And obviously, similar kind of vein. Need for Speed Most Wanted, linking back to what we were talking about earlier, on the cover was an E46 M3 GTR. Okay. There you go, right? Yeah. And it was a hero car, an M3, not just any M3, a GTR. Yeah. And that's awesome. Yes. And I think it's really tricky as a young lad. And another thing worth mentioning as well, the marketing doesn't make it seem like so, but the BMW in the 90s kind of is a working class car. The E46 320D was the first car to outsell the Mondeo in that market when it was launched, brand new, right? Yeah. So there was always the Mondeo, Vectra, that type of stuff. I mean, Britain's famous for its roots in Fords and Vauxhalls, of course. It was the E46 that first pitted those cars. The E46, the 320D outsold the Mondeo, was the first one to do it. And I think that's a nice kind of cultural pillar to show that actually majority of the people in the UK, it's a relatively prosperous country. You guys can now afford a BMW. So I liked it for the fact that you can obtain it as a working class person, but equally it's still seen as a luxury item, which is a bit odd. No other cars really managed to do that.
Interesting. So what do you make of modern BMWs then? What's the sort of position there?
I'm pretty jammy because of what I do now. I've got to try most of them, including an i7, right? And naturally, by having my 7 Series, I have a huge affiliation with the 7 Series. I love all of them, all the way up to the i7. I actually think that's a brilliant car. Visually, they dropped the ball a bit, obviously. You don't need me to remind you that the M3 and 4 were ugly, and they still are. But again, like we said downstairs with the other cars, it's quite subjective. What do I think of them? As a product, they're brilliant. Yeah. They're bloody expensive now though, so maybe not the working class hero that the E46 was.
Scary.
But yeah, it's a good product. Again, loads of option for individualism through different specs, the individual scheme or service. So you can really get what you want in a package that is perfect and usable, which is what BMWs are great at. They're, for the most part, very reliable. And we'll see if the modern ones are, but they offer you a product that you can just jump in, not worry about. Yeah. It's not too fragile. Yeah. It's blisteringly quick, and it's a nice interior, which is again something I really like in the BMs. The interiors have always been good in them, apart from the E36, junk interior. But the others were brilliant.
Going back to your own content a little bit, obviously it has been a pretty short space of time from when you started to where you are now. What do you make of all the sort of growth and success that you've had in that
so much fun, obviously. Really exciting. I've got a prosperous hobby full of incredible individuals like you guys, and it's so much fun. And I've been living and breathing the car community and the car world for a decade now. Before I go on camera, writing about it, taking photos of it, attending every event under the sun. So for now, for it all to start kicking off is sweet. So on one hand, it's only been a short period of time, but on the other hand,
it's all the foundations that have been laid, like 10 years.
A lot of the people I'm working with now, I've known for ages. I just work with them in a different capacity. So yeah, I love it. Yeah. It's amazing. And also I get quite a lot of actual really good comments. I got a lot of friends who do what I do as well. Naturally, when you get on camera, you start making people in the same industry as you. Yeah. That goes for anything, photography, I don't know, working in an office. You go for a pint with your mates at work, right? That's what you do. It's the same happens in the kind of content creation, video journalism world. And and I think the people that come in my videos, they're the best lot. I get some real good comments.
You've got a great, you do, I've seen the engagement. It's through the roof.
People seem to care.
Yeah,
and I think that's
really
largely down to the fact that I'm talking about cars that are quirky and relatable.
Yeah.
Anyone can go and talk about, the color. Well, this is a PTS spec thing parked in this corner of London. I like it, but I don't really care that much about it. I'd rather talk about the Verso or that 7 Series.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. What do you see as sort of like the future plans for you then? Are you continue on with the video content? Is there anything else that you want to sort of dabble in, or any directions you want to take with it? Or?
Top Gear.
Oh, so yeah, they come along and they say, Mike, we want you to be the next presenter. What you're saying?
In my wildest dream, no, of course, but that's not going to happen. And if it does, what a story that'll be. No, I think I've become almost too comfortable just jumping over the camera. I feel very comfortable just do it.
That's good.
Which is great. Yeah. So what's the long-term plan with that? God knows. I'd love to be hired by someone who needs a storyteller and a general personality, because I consider the way I live my life with my best mate, Matt, and my closest friends, we do just have a good time.
Yeah.
And I think people like that as well, because I'm, aside from Candy, my personal Instagram seems to be growing quite quickly as well. And people just seem to be engaged at what is going on.
Yeah.
So if there's a company out there that might want someone to chat for them and represent something, a certain lifestyle, I think I could be quite a good fit. And obviously every kid in the world ever wants to work on Top Gear. So I think
it's
dream for everyone, right?
I think I've seen every single episode since like 2002. I remember watching on Dave on repeat.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. I mean, something worth touching on as well. A lot of people comment saying they can see a very strong resemblance to my work with some of the earlier stuff. Naturally, because it's what I grew up on. And English is my second language. I was taught how to speak English by, this is pre-Freeview days, right? You had 4 channels, maybe 5 if your antenna reached the 5th one. One of them was BBC Two. And the show you'd watch as a kid as a non-English speaker was Top Gear and CBBC, right?
Yeah.
So I was learning how to speak English. I was taught how to speak English, by the writings of Richard Porter, the presenting of the 3 dudes, and Basil Brush. It's
that's so interesting.
They basically taught me how to speak English, which is kind of a weird thing to think of.
Explains a lot.
Naturally, with my interests, the things I consumed as a kid, as a teenager, and still today, me and Matt sit on the sofa. I don't even put the stuff on. Matt puts it on. I'd be sat down, just finished making my dinner. He'd be like, "Oh, check out this Top Gear episode I found," and we'd be rewatching for the 7th time. Episode 8 of season 10 or something. It'd be brilliant. We'd laugh. We'd love it just as good as the first time. Very spoiled to have that. That show is a incredible cultural kind of landmark. We'd look in 100 years' time. It would be studied in creative schools around the globe. How they did it.
Yeah.
Well,
Top Gear, BBC, if you're watching.
But you can't say that. That's like
I can.
That's like
I can say it for you.
That's like saying, "Oh, what's like your dream tonight? Oh, winning the lottery." Obviously, everyone's winning the lottery. Also, you have to have a pretty big ego and be a bit of a narcissist to assume you can just get that job, which I definitely do not think. Right, guys? But I can't deny the fact that the videos do just get loads of comments saying, "Get this guy on TV."
Yeah.
And I almost start to believe in myself now, which is a bit odd.
Yeah, so snowballs that sort of.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's great fun to believe though, right?
Yeah.
Largely why I like cars like the BM, because it makes you feel like you're really summing in it. Like, I own a BMW. I've spent $2.5 grand buying this thing, which is really low price for a car, but I'm still summing a BM.
Yeah.
I guess I could get really deep in this conversation. It almost taps into like my inner Eastern European mentality of, like having to graft and have to have something to show for yourself for that graft. There's infinite layers of like kind of socio-economic topics that you can attach to cars, attach to why I think I could get on Top Gear, but I don't want to admit it to anyone, and why we're all here. Yeah.
It's like the symbol that car represents to you on a sort
Bloody hell, yeah, I guess. People, I often occasionally say to my friend, I often occasionally say to my friends that I might replace it with something. I'm not going to do that, probably not. That car's it's a good metaphor for who I am. And largely thanks to it, the friends I'm friends with today.
Okay, yeah.
So I kind of went off tangent then, off topic from your question, but just some inner ramblings.
No, that was, that's, so what else would you potentially add to the garage then that is in keeping with that theme? Is there anything else that has the sort of same?
Right, Archie, mark my words. Give me a couple of years.
Yeah.
There'll be a 996 turbo parked next to an FSO Polonez. And then I'll upload a picture onto the internet of me standing next to my turbo and my Polonez, and it'll be like the Big Bang all over again. The world will implode. That'll be the end of the space-time continuum forever. That's it. That's all she wrote. That's the end of humanity, because that's the big science experiment is complete.
Yeah.
When that FSO Polonez and the 996 turbo parked next to each other.
Okay, so
on a yacht. You see the guy who put a Bugatti Veyron on a yacht? I'm going to put an FSO Polonez on a yacht.
So hang on. For these who don't know what an FSO Polonez is, I'll put a photo up on the edit. But
she's beautiful, isn't she?
What? Why? What is it about?
Right. It is. You know what? When I first migrated to the UK, it wasn't that popular to be Polish, because I moved over in 2005. Mass immigration. Everyone who moved to the UK from Eastern Europe was Polish, and they were a builder. So by default at school, I was a builder, and for some reason that wasn't a very trendy thing to be. And I had a funny accent. So by default, you're not a very cool kid. The FSO Polonez was a car built by the Poles for the Poles. My granddad had one. My dad had one. In fact, they both had many, because they were so terrible they broke down. It was cheaper to buy a new one than to fix it. And it's such a piece of shit car. I just have to have it, because I think it's the embodiment of my quirky interest in cars and my background, my Polishness.
That's what I love about cars, though, as well, as the fact that like, you're literally choosing your car. They mean so much, not just from what the car is, but what they mean to you.
Most people just want to get a Porsche, so they can post pictures of it on the internet, right? I want to have an FSO Polonez so I can break down on the way to Sunday Scramble. That's the dream. That's what I knew I've made it, because my 996 turbo is at home, and I've chosen to break down my Polonez on the M40.
Yeah.
Or the lorries. I'm just there in the cold. It'll be the January one as well. No, my luck. I'll break down in the January Sunday Scramble.
Yeah. Oh no.
It'll be beautiful though. I can't wait.
Can see it.
It'll happen. It'll happen. I'll send you a picture. I can't wait.
And then I suppose the other car. Why the 996 turbo?
Because it's cool, isn't it?
Just
Yeah. It's a mark of success. Having a Porsche 911, that's probably why most people want one. Yeah. Porsche have really figured out their marketing. It goes back to us saying about imagery, being painted through marketing and through cars. Porsche paint the image of success and the image of achieving something. And again, something really odd. When I first moved to the UK, we still consumed some Polish media at home. My dad would get, there'd be like streaming services, whatever, I don't know. He got this Polish TV show called Londoners, and it was a TV show that was quite popular in Poland in the early 2000s about a bunch of Poles that immigrated to London. Immigration was so popular back then, to England, to London specifically, that they made TV shows about it back at home. And there was one character in that TV show who made it, and he was a banker, and he had a black 997. His life was miserable. That was the whole plot of the thing. You know, he was one of the characters. It was a TV show that followed. It was a soap drama. It followed the stories of like 10 fictional Poles who moved to London, and he was one of them. And he made it. He had a 997, a black one, and he was so depressed and miserable. And I want to experience that. I want to have a 997 and say I did it. Yeah. And then after that, I'll pre-sell it. I don't actually want a Porsche. I just want to say I had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's some deep.
It's true though.
Yeah.
I want a Polonez.
Yeah. No, that's
and that.
Fantastic.
And the 7 Series down there. Yeah. There you go.
That's a hell of a.
Don't need lots of happiness.
That'll do it. Well, I think, to end on, I was going to ask you some quick fire questions.
Let's go.
Favorite car you've reviewed?
Alpha GTV6.
Okay.
Also, you say reviewed. The videos.
Okay.
You know what? I got a little gripe with people. People review cars and they make TikToks about them for a minute. That's not a review. You're not reviewing a car.
Yeah.
A minute, 3 minutes, which is what I do, is not enough time to review a car. Maybe a preview. Maybe I'm showing. Maybe I'm talking a quirk of the car. To really review a car, you need half hour or 10 minutes to half hour to really, sit down with your viewer and tell them, look, this is what you're going to get with this car. I don't really do that. And talking about a car for a minute or a minute and a half, again, it's not a review. It's a preview. There's nothing wrong with that. I do it. I think some of the minute-long videos are brilliant. I just have a gripe of calling it a review because it isn't.
So what?
Favorite car I've driven and made a video on?
Yes.
GTV6. For sure. Amazing car.
Because? Really quick fire.
God, there's so much. It's so sexy, right? Okay. God, you drive that car around London. I've never been loved more than in that Alpha. People love it, right? And I've been in all sorts of flashy stuff now. Nothing gets as much love as that Alpha. Yeah. And also the guy who owns a Sam Miller, probably one of the nicest human beings the world has ever been graced with. And that kind of helps. I feel like that the car is only as cool and as interesting as the person who owns it. That's super important to remember. Sam's a cool guy. So by default, the Alpha's infinitely cooler. I feel like Sam driving about in it, and people love Sam. So I was loved. There you go.
Yeah. I feel like I wrote this question before your own car has appeared in the showroom, so I feel like the answer might be a bit. You can leave Joe Macari with one car. What are you taking?
Right now?
Yeah. Ignoring your, I'm going to ban your BMW.
Cool. Probably a Ferrari of some sort. There's a silver, I think it's a 550 in the corner back there.
Yes, beautiful.
Gated manual from memory. Silver, grey interior, very understated. Yeah. And I like things that are understated. So I think it might be that. Obviously, there's many more expensive cars. If financially, I'd probably live with a Veyron or one of the race cars. I don't know. But I'm not an intelligent man financially, so it'll be the 550.
Well, they're going up, the values on 550s.
Yeah,
I
but
reckon that's pretty...
it's parked next to a Chiron. It's Cento Dieci.
Well, so. 250 California.
Yeah, there you
go. I feel like you've kind of already answered this one as well, but Dream 3-car garage, that is the...
FSO Polonez 728 and a 996 turbo. Okay. Maybe an M car. Maybe eventually I will get bored of that and replace it with an E39 M5 or an E34 M5. Because realistically, when I'm still a bit BM nerd. Yep. The dream as a kid was to have an E36 M3. Okay. And I think they're really cool, but I think the M5's cooler. The older I get, the more I prefer an M5.
Yep.
So maybe that, if I had to be picky.
Okay.
But the 7's great. It's more comfier than M5. It is.
I'm sure, yeah. Cool, I think that's pretty much, are there any other questions that you wish I'd asked you?
Thanks for having me on, mate, I guess. Why'd you have me on, mate? That's a great question.
No, it's not a question at all, it's pretty obvious.
So many more interesting people out there to chat to. And you want to chat to me about my Polonez wet dream. Oh, mate.
Where can people sort of follow you, find you on socials and all that
on Instagram, Candyshowroom. Also TikTok as well. I'd rather you watch the videos on TikTok than Instagram, so I can get paid. Because TikTok pays me £10 for 1 million views, so or something miserable like that. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to watch the videos, TikTok's the best place to find them. But Instagram's much easier to use, so I don't know. But I don't get paid on Instagram. Candyshowroom and my personal @Fidowicz or Fidowicz, FIDOWICZ. Yeah. Come check out my life and see what I get up to. Yeah. You might like it.
Awesome.
Might be fun. And then you get to see the Polonez one day.
Yeah.
That'd be a great moment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. You can find out more about Custodian as well at www.custodian.club. And you can follow us on Instagram as well @custodian.club. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Mike, so much for coming on.
Thank you for your time. I feel flattered.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good to catch up, Archie.
You too, mate.
Amazing. Bye, take care. See ya.
Thanks for watching.